Let me check all my features are on point uh, until people come into the chat room. Get get the stuff popping. Let me also make sure this is live. Might hear a little bit of music in the background. Hopefully, just a subtle amount so I don't get dinged for it. Um, Let me check to make sure this live is public. Let's see. Yes, we are live. Johnny Five is alive. And the name of live live stream is Ignore Women Who Demand Emotional Intelligence. It's fake. I'm going to go into nuance about it. About because yeah, there's some scientific validity to the concept of emotional intelligence, but the way it's used in pop culture is just basically bullshit. Uh, but yeah, it looks like I'm. Yeah, it looks like I'm live. Looks like I'm live, large, and in charge. Let me see something. Uh, Let me make sure make sure I enabled the monetization. So I think that was what messed up a lot of my previous lives where I wasn't getting any super chats or gifts was that I didn't enable the monetization. And let's see here. Looks like all of that is squared away. I think scrolling through. Mm, see. Sorry, I'm just doing my collaterals. Oh yeah. Okay, monetization is on. So yeah, we are fully equipped, my friends. Fully equipped, hip to the dip. Sorry. So I just wanted to make sure all my features were on. That one that I was actually that the live was actually public. That my monetization is on, so that you incredible followers can leave me gifts or super chats. Let me actually plan a goal here. Okay. Uh-oh. I forgot. Hold up. Fix that. All right. So I got a goal for 10 gifts, super chats within the next 30 minutes. We'll see. Um, it's a goal. It's a little lofty, but what's a goal without a little loftiness added to it to make it worth striving to achieve, right? um, because I actually have been facing quite a few nice followers and um, folks in the chat room that have given me gifts which came out of the blue, and I appreciate it a lot. So hopefully I can we can get that trend going. All right. And again, the name of this stream is "Ignore Women Who Demand Emotional Intelligence is Fake." And I say that because although there is scientific validity to emotional intelligence, it is not a replacement for actual general intelligence. Like emotional intelligence is not a replacement, a rival, nor an alternative to general intelligence, and is misused a lot in pop culture, and is basically just a way for women to particularly in social media dating to basically be bitches and claim that they need guys to reach this level of basically just glorified social skills. Now, the way emotional intelligence was def, originally conceptualized by Dr. Coleman was it was a matter of like self awareness and yeah, like self awareness and being able to adapt to dealing with other people, stuff like that. But like I said, nowadays it's basically just used as a way of talking about someone being likable. That's basically how it's used today in social media when they talk about emotional intelligence. They're basically just talking about someone being likable, and that's why no one takes it. That's why most red-blooded straight men don't take emotional intelligence seriously. It's usually by a bunch of dumb bitches that, that want you to want you to basically be more in touch with your feelings, and that's not what emotional intelligence means in scientific psychology. And even in scientific psychology, yes, it has validity. It has some construct validity. Construct validity means that a measure tests what is tests the actual like concept under questioning or whatever. But the construct validity is a little sketchy just because it has not there's not emotional intelligence needs to be better operationally defined. And in behavioral science, we expect anything. We expect some sort of science, like some sort of behavioral or psychological variable to be operationally defined. Operationalism or operational definition means that a concept is defined by its means of being tested or its operations, obviously. So if if a if a certain construct lacks um, lacks a strong operational definition, which is that is defined by the means of which to test that very construct, then it 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 lacks in its construct validity is going to be lacking, and that is definitely the case for emotional intelligence. It has been researched since the 90s, um, but it's been assessed in different ways because again it needs a better operational definition, and the fact that it made it into mainstream discourse like 10 years ago, like 10-15 years ago, is like uh most men shouldn't take it seriously because the only people talking about emotional intelligence are women. It's basically the 21st, and like I said, so the way they're using it is devoid of its scientific origins, as most things from psychology when it crosses over into pop culture, it becomes devoid of its original scientific origins, like gaslight, like when people misuse the term gaslighting, when they misuse the term toxic masculinity, which originally referred to a concept called hypermasculinity, which has very little to do with the way women use it, or a way gay ass liberals use it. Yeah, I went there. Um, and like I said, I was aware of emotional intelligence because I read the fucking book back in the '90s about it, like um, around what 96 or 97, before it had made it into mainstream culture. I mean, it was sort of in mainstream culture because they were talking about it on shows like Oprah Winfrey and stuff like that. But it didn't really become part of the cultural zeitgeist until, like I said, the past 12 years or so. By the way, what's going on to everyone in the chat room? Please feel free to enter into the chat room your comments and questions. Just make sure that it is pertinent to this conversation. If you are going to proffer comments or questions not germane to this conversation, then I would ask you to do it in the form of a super chat. And shout out to the first person that sent me a GIF. Got 9 more to go to reach the goal, guys. So that's one. We already got one. Got 9 more GIFs to reach the goal. What's up, Carlton? Uh, have you? How long were you here? Did you hear most of my soliloquy? Because I know I'm gonna have to repeat it a few times, which I don't mind. But yeah, guys, got so my goal is 10 gifts. So I got 9 more to go. Caught the very end of it. Okay, so like I was saying, well, I'm sure you already saw the topic, but just for everyone else, today's topic is ignore women who demand, uh, quote unquote, emotional intelligence. It's fake, right? And as I was saying, so just like 2 years ago when I discussed toxic masculinity, I said that's not a real thing because the way it's used in pop culture is completely devoid of its scientific origins. So toxic masculinity originally referred to a concept in social psychology called hypermasculinity, which actually referred to young men who grew up in fatherless communities. And in these fatherless communities, the only people they had to imprint on were females, whether you're talking about their mothers and aunties and sisters or whatnot. So they rejected the feminine traits of their female caregivers, and instead um, took on exaggerated masculinity, um, which usually which usually led to heightened aggression and crime, particularly like gang warfare and that sort of thing. So you will often see hypermasculinity displayed in places like the ghetto and in war torn refugee areas, and really poverty stricken places. This is where you would see hyper masculinity, as well as also in prison, obviously. um, but the way it became used in pop culture was just to refer to basically anything that men did that women disliked became called toxic masculinity. So that was just bullshit. And so now I'm calling out emotional intelligence because I'm tired of these stupid bitches talking about emotional intelligence. First of all, it's like emotional intelligence is not an alternative nor a rival to general intelligence. They're not even like one, they're talking about two separate things. Like emotional intelligence does have scientific validity, but it is not a cognitive ability. It's basically it's basically an umbrella term for a couple of different uh, phenomena dealing with self awareness, um, the ability to to adapt to others and stuff like that. The problem with even the scientific validity is that it's a weak construct because it hasn't been very strongly operationally defined. So in behavioral science, where we talk about psychology, sociology, anthropology, whatever, uh, scientific behavioral science variables have to be operationally defined. Operational definition means that a concept is defined by the way it is to be tested in research. So if we cannot give a clear way in how to test some sort of concept, then it lacks operational definition, which makes it a weak construct because you can't you really can't test a construct that you can't define operationally about you can't define operationally, which is how you test it in the very first place. And it has but it has been researched. The problem is, like I said, people have different operational definitions of emotional intelligence within scientific psychology, and that's what makes it a weak construct, right? And then when it's translated to pop culture, it basically just gets misused and talked about in lieu of saying social skills. When people talk about emotional intelligence in pop culture, they're basically just referring to social skills. And having social skills is not a replacement for general intelligence, nor rationality, which is another important cognitive ability. Like the three most important cognitive abilities would be general intelligence, rationality, and self control, which kind of makes sense, right? But emotional intelligence is not. Emotional intelligence has been researched and shown to have some predictive validity as far as like future job performance and stuff like that, because obviously it assesses your ability to have social skills with others. But beyond that, fuck it. And the fact that all these little stupid bitches be on their social media dating sites, like I require a man to have emotional intelligence. Like, bitch, shut up. Like, I require you not to have a pussy that hasn't have 100,000 miles on it. But I guess we're both gonna be verily disappointed here, aren't we? Like, don't be talking about emotional intelligence if your pussy got 100,000 miles on it. Don't be talking about emotional intelligence if you got bacterial vaginosis and you smell like the fried lake trout place down Park Heights. Don't be talking about emotional intelligence and you got 4 kids by 3 different baby daddies. Don't be talking about emotional intelligence when your kid rides the short bus with a helmet. Don't be talking about emotional intelligence when every guy you date has a felony. Don't be talking about emotional intelligence when you finish school with the GED. Don't be talking about emotional intelligence when you talk about you require a man to have a 6 pack and be physically fit, but you're the size of Lizzo, the old Lizzo, not the new Ozempic Lizzo. Ow, ow, it's Lizzo. Don't be talking about emotional intelligence when you feed your kids hot hot Cheetos for breakfast. Don't talk about emotional intelligence, period, when you never read the book on the actual subject like I did back back 30 years ago before it was in the cultural zeitgeist as it is today. I actually read the book by Goldman, Dr. Goldman. And it's actually, like I said, I actually appreciate his conceptualization of it. And I think it is important, but it is not, I would not put it up there as a cognitive ability, which is a rival to general intelligence, rationality, and self control, which are the three most important cognitive abilities to have for one's personal, financial, and academic success. causing to some women just want men to obey them. Exactly. The again, Kevin Samuels called these bitches out 4 years ago. The same ones that would talk about they need a God fearing man and this and that. And he was like, do you bitches really even go to church? You just talking about you want a God fearing man because you just want a way to filter men out. That's all. They put a bunch of dumb shit on their social medias, dating profiles as a way to filter men and basically make themselves feel superior to the men that don't meet their measure. And emotional intelligence is one of these things. But again, not one of these bitches, I guarantee it, if if and only if one of these bitches actually read the original book that highlighted the research that Dr. Goldman did on emotional intelligence back in the 90s, if any of them actually read it, I will film me doing the Van Damme helicopter kick for you guys to watch. Because I told a Korean um, follower, I don't know if she's still here. I think she was flirting with me too. I can't even tell. But I told her a long time ago I can do a little bit of taekwondo tricking. I said one of my favorite techniques is the helicopter kick. I will film me doing the helicopter kick. If one of these bitches always talking about emotional intelligence on their social media app can actually prove that they've read the fucking book, which most of them haven't. All they're gonna lie and just use fucking Chat GPT or Google Gemini or Grok or Copilot to basically read up on it very quickly. Because I guarantee they didn't read the book like I did. Like I said, I read it before it was even popular. Like the first time you heard about it was probably like on like Oprah Winfrey back in the late '90s. But it wasn't a big thing back then. Like that was when people were talking about all these other. This is when people were having a problem with conventional methods of education and learning and sort of stuff. So people started shitting on rote memorization, which is an important form of learning. But there was like all these alternatives to rote learning, saying that we need to undergo creative learning and all that dumb shit. And then they were poo pooing on general intelligence because of the bell curve book and stuff like that. Um, and so you had another researcher come up with multiple intelligence, which is by definition a misnomer because intelligence by definition is only one thing. My fucking professor literally said that in my biopsychology biopsychology class. He was saying that the concept of multiple intelligences does have merit because we know that intelligence is made up of several subsets of different cognitive abilities, which which attri- contribute to general intelligence, but that general intelligence, but he said, but intelligence by definition is one thing, so there's not multiple intelligences. And to his point, the original researcher did say that he takes that criticism in hand that intelligence is really just one thing. He says so. So the original researcher was intellectually humble and said, I can acknowledge that intelligence is one thing, and I'll say this. He was like, we don't have I don't have to call it multiple intelligence. Let's just call it multiple abilities that that contribute to general intelligence. But the point is that there are several of these abilities that aren't fully accounted for just by IQ tests. And so I think most people can agree on that whereas general intelligence is a highly quantified and measurable psychological trait, which is highly heritable as well, and has predictive validity in academic and financial success, that there are other things outside of general intelligence that make up the broader term intelligence, which wouldn't be assessed just by an IQ test. And this is why neuropsychologists, when they're assessing a person's overall um, mental functioning, they give a neuropsychological battery, which includes an IQ test, but has other tests that make up that battery as well. But guess what doesn't make up that neuropsychological battery? Emotional intelligence. Like, no, that's still a research driven phenomena. Like, when people are given a neuropsychological battery to assess if they are well functioning, if they have any sort of cognitive or intellectual disability, um, if there's any sort of um, neurological damage because of brain trauma or some um, medical illness or whatever, they don't, they rarely, if ever, assess emotional intelligence. They don't. That's not to say it's not worth assessing, because they don't assess, they don't exactly, they don't necessarily assess rationality or self-control either, which are important cognitive abilities. But usually, as they assess person's general intelligence and basically like something dealing with like maybe self-awareness and rationality, but not, but they don't use like a EI test or an RQ test the way they have an IQ test. Like RQ would be rationality quotient and EI emotional intelligence. Like those neuropsychological assessments um, usually don't include those. I could be wrong. Like since college, they may have added those things to a neuropsychological battery. So I could be completely amiss here. But my point is just that guys should not be shamed into thinking that there's something remiss about them if they can't tap into what women subjectively call emotional intelligence. Which, like I said, none of those bitches have ever read the book originally written about emotional intelligence. So when they're talking about emotional intelligence, they are just talking about social skills. It's a way of them mocking men and calling them socially awkward. I should probably stop saying bitches. But it just shows my disdain for stupid for like little condescending women like that. Bitches. Let me stop. That was my last one. Hold on, I gotta say one more. Fuck those bitches. All right, that's my last one. But yeah, don't let these women shame you into thinking that you need to tap into your 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 awareness of all your feelings and stupid subjective bullshit like that. Again, this is just the 2020 version of what women used to do in the 90s when they used to require that men have sensitivity. There was a whole fucking song about that by Ralph Tresvant. I need him. She needs a man with sensitivity. A man like me. Don't want to be. It is not. But yeah, these whores back in the 90s used to talk about, I need a man with sensitivity. So you had all these men being bitches, Mitches, being Mitches. Sorry, I used the word again. They were being a bunch of Mitches, trying to be in touch with their feelings and shit. You know what I need to be in touch with? I need to be in touch with them cheeks with you bent over. That's what we need to be in touch with. Forget all that other dumb stuff. Sensitivity. You want sensitivity? Let me take this rubber off. Then we can talk about sensitivity. All right, out of here with that bullshit. uh, these are the ears. I got ears, brother. They're small, but I got them. And I can hear very well. If anything, I pretend not to hear some shit. I'm tripping. I'm sorry. I had some Pepsi. You know, guys. You know I rarely drink soft drinks. So when I hit that soda, it goes straight to the dome. Pause. Actually, I don't know. Is that a pause? I don't know. But pause just in case. Ain't no Diddy around here. But speaking of that, yeah, man. So the whole emotional intelligence thing is the Gen Z women's version of what Gen X women used to talk about when they was telling guys they need to have sensitivity. It's basically the same thing. It has no the way they use it is completely devoid of its scientific origins in psychology. Carson says women should just be honest, brother. If women were honest, they would never get their way. Says where would men be without women in the Garden of Eden? Yeah, you know what? We always try to put the L on Eve. I'll put the L on Adam, honestly, because he shouldn't have listened to the bitch. He had his doubts. Like when he heard what she was saying, he was like, "But we're not supposed to." And she's like, "Come on, Adam." He should be like, "Nah." He could have been like, "Nah, bitch. Uh, Yahweh can make me another one." That's on Adam. Yahweh could have constructed him another woman. As a matter of fact, depending on your own biblical beliefs or whatever, obviously I take none of these as genuine history. I take them all as homilies for the fall of mankind and all this other sort of stuff. But depending on your on your on your biblical scriptures and all that, there was actually another woman. Forgot her name. Starts with a L. If anyone in the chat can knows who I'm talking about, I can't remember her name. Not Lisa. Lithia. Something. Something. There was another woman out there. He should have chose her instead of Eve. Lilith. Thank you, Stefan. Is it Stephen or Stefan? But yeah, exactly right. Lilith. Although I thought Lilith was the only thing is I thought the Lilith was supposed to be evil, but I mean, with compared to Eve, like, was there any good ones? Stefan, thank you for correcting me. Was there any good ones? Eve was twisted. Lilith, I believe, was like a female servant of Satan or a female version of Satan, something like that. But there was other women out there. Even if it wasn't Lilith, Yahweh could have provided him another one. Yahweh could have been like, you know what, Adam, I was tripping. Eve tried to get you to eat from that forbidden tree of knowledge. Look, I'm gonna replace the bitch for you, and I'm gonna give you a tree that gives you something better than knowledge. I'm gonna give you the tree of ecstasy. He'd be like, Yahweh, you ain't never failed me, son. That's what's up. I'll, I'll make it all that up, but you get what I'm saying. Eve was replaceable. Adam was not, since Adam literally means first man. Oh, you study Gnosticism? Okay, so I know the story, but from a different perspective. Yeah, I can't remember who Lilith was in Gnostic scriptures, um, but I knew there were other people besides Adam and Eve, depending on the scriptures, right? I can't remember Lilith was good or bad. I thought she was bad, but can't remember. Carlos says Adam couldn't have gotten with one of those monkey type of humanoids. No, I meant like fully fleshed out humans. I mean, obviously, we didn't know biblical biblical scribes didn't know about Neanderthals and Cro-Magnons, which were modern human, um, biologically speaking, but not behaviorally modern men. Um, Not to mention the other pre-modern humans in other regions of the world, like Asia. But yeah, I mean, like I said, as far as descriptions could have gone, like I said, it was a homily, so we shouldn't take it. We shouldn't take it at face value. And even I remember one of my philosophy professors said this as well. He was like, it's still an open question of even whether the ancient people took that stuff at face value as well. It's like we assume looking back at it from our modern perspective they that they that they were credulous enough to take this stuff at face value when there's no evidence that they actually did. So it's an open question whether even the people of ancient times took these stories at face value that we're supposed to by faith. John, if you're not putting in the form of a super chat, I have nothing to hear from you. Anyway, again, getting back to the topic. So, like I said, the whole requiring of men to have emotional intelligence by women today, it's just the Gen Z version of what Gen X women used to do to their men 30, you know, 30, 40 years ago when they said they wanted men with sensitivity to be sensitive. Like they always trying to, like, they want masculine men and then they want to turn them into bitches. Right. What time is it? I was getting late. But yeah, so, and again, like I said, there is actual scientific validity to the concept of emotional intelligence, but the way it's used in pop culture is completely devoid of those scientific origins, which, like I said, in its original usage referred to like self-awareness and to the ability to successfully like interact with other people, which when research does predict like better job performance and even academic performance as well, as well as financial success. But that that taps into basically having good social skills. And like I said, with with the the problem with the problem is still a weak construct because although researchers have shown that it has scientific validity, they they give different operational definitions of it. Like if there was a converging if there was converging um how do I want to put it? There is converging evidence on the fact that this is a genuine concept, or like a genuine construct. I'm sorry. The problem is, like I said, the operational definition seems to differ depending on the research. So where we know that there is a such thing as emotional intelligence, we it differs by researcher what is actually being tapped into as opposed to general intelligence where we know exactly what general intelligence is. Um, Roughly speaking, general intelligence, the construct of general intelligence refers to our ability for abstract reasoning and systematic thinking. Carlin says women today basically want to buck break men. That's not new. Like I said, they've been doing that since the 80s when they were talking about they need a man with sensitivity. Like they don't they don't want effeminate men. Those liberal like those guys that align with them in the Democratic Party who are effeminate and feminists and talking about put women first and yada 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 like Jaheim. You saw he put women first, and now he bald as shit. Let me stop. but, um, but no, like they're not even attracted to the men they say they want. This is why I don't take what they say seriously. They're not really attracted to the men they say they want. They say they, like I said, back in the late '80s, early '90s, they say that they wanted a man with sensitivity, but those aren't the men to whom they were attracted. They were attracted to the masculine men, but then they thought that they could change those men in there and craft them into the type of guy that they want. Now that could go either two ways. Either one, they won't be able to change the guy, which will lead to their frustration, or two, they will change the man into the guy that they want, and then they will lose respect for him and end up leaving him for another masculine guy. So this is why you shouldn't take these bitches seriously. Damn, I keep using the I keep using the word. I'm sorry. I was I was sorry, YouTube. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I would be good. I'm family friendly. Family friendly. Family friendly. At least Carter says back in the day, I used to hear women say, "I will fix him." Yeah, because they think they can change men, whereas men accept women as the way they are. We don't find we don't find a woman in the wild and be like, "Yo, she is bad. I bet you I can turn her into wifey material." That's, no, we look we see them in the wild, be like, "Yo, that's what I want right there." We're not trying to change them. We want them to stay like that. They see us like, "Oh, oh, I like him. Bet you I bet you I can mold them into the type of man that that is worthy of me." That's how they think. It's stupid. It's like they, even though men and women are capable of uh, the same abstract reasoning abilities, they don't tap it in the same way that we do. We we are more we are more driven through our through more of a cold approach to reason than they are, where they're more driven by an emotional approach to reasoning. So, Stefan says the internet and music broke these women. That's part of it. It has been. I will say, yes, pop culture has definitely contributed to their their delusions. Yeah, I would say, yeah, pop culture has contributed to it quite a bit, but part of it is just them being that they are just not as reasonable as we are we're more we're just more pragmatic. Stefan says most don't know what they want. Exactly. Like I said, they say they want one thing and then they go for another. That's why I said guys should never listen to what women say that they want. And this is a lesson my father taught me too. By the way, he was like, "Don't." He told me this a long time ago, and I didn't understand what he meant because my as much as I can't stand my father today because of a lot of dumb shit that he said and did. He used to drop he did drop quite a few gems on me back in the day. Which, by the way, guys, I still need 9 more gems. Here, I got 1 gem. I need 9 more to go, please. 9 more gems. But yeah, he used to drop a few gems on me. Um, like one, he was saying, never tell women everything that you're thinking. That was solid advice. He was also saying, don't try to be a woman's man. He said, strive to be a man's man. He's like, everyone wants a man's man. A woman's man, only women will respect, but men don't respect a woman's man. They respect a man's man, and a woman will want a man's man as well. There we go. We got a second one. I need 8 more, guys, if you please. But yeah, my father was saying, don't try to be a woman's man. Be a man's man. He said everyone respects a man's man. Men respect a man's man, and women respect a man's man. But a woman's man, only women will respect. Men won't respect them. And when women see men don't respect that man, they won't respect him either. That's what he told me back in the day. And he's right. So don't listen to these women telling you to be emotionally intelligent. Be actually intelligent. Get educated. Okay, don't and don't dumb yourself down for anyone, which was another mistake I made back in my younger years. I tried to dumb myself down. I tried to dumb down the way I talk because people said I talked white, or that I sounded like a geek or a nerd when I talked. So I always had to dumb down the way I talk. And even now as an adult, I still get some adults thinking that the way I'm talking is I'm trying to be like I'm trying to pretend to be something that I'm not by the way I talk, when it's naturally the way I speak. Like, yes, I use naturally big words in my in stuff that I say, but since I actually know what I'm talking about, if someone didn't know what I meant, I would just break down the word that I'm using if they didn't understand what I meant. That's how you know someone actually knows what they're talking about. Like, they can actually they can actually describe what they mean when you don't understand what they're saying. So, my father dropped those gems on me, and I'm imparting that to you guys. This is why I'm saying don't listen to women telling you to be emotionally intelligent, because it's fake. They're basically just referring to social skills. They're not referring to the actual scientific concept of emotional intelligence. Happy wife, happy life. Yeah, that's no. If if the stability if the stability of your marriage requires your wife to be constantly happy, then you're going to be living a life of misery, because you're not responsible for her happiness. She's responsible for her happiness, and you're responsible for your happiness. Now, you shouldn't be actively trying to make her unhappy, though, obviously, but you shouldn't. But your modus operandi, yeah, should not be figuring out how to make this woman happy. That means you're living a miserable life. Carter said, "Pops is right." Yeah, like I said, he did drop a few dimes on me. Too bad he wasn't consistent with it himself, but that's a topic for another day. I mean, I've talked about it in the past many times, not once or twice in live streams, but I've talked about it quite a bit in videos, particularly when I used to have my friend uh, appear in my videos, and we would have these, our little car. If you've probably seen some of my car discussions with one of my homeboys, and we would talk about family turmoil and stuff like that, and how I've had you know revolving problems with family members and stuff like that. But yeah, guys, don't be suckered into this whole emotional intelligence thing. Next time you hear a woman say that they require a guy to have emotional intelligence, ask them, did they actually read the fucking book on it? I guarantee they didn't. I actually have. I've actually read the book on it back in like 96, 97. Then I also read the book on multiple intelligences as well. Again, for the nuts, intelligence by definition is only one thing. So there's not an emotional intelligence, and there's not seven forms of intelligence, like social intelligence, emotional intelligence, athletic intelligence. Um, no, no. Are there multiple are there multiple cognitive abilities that contribute to intelligence? Yes, that is true, but they're not multiple intelligences, which is um, a contradiction in terms, since by definition, intelligence is only one thing. On top of that, d- despite there again being scientific validity to emotional intelligence, or EI, it is not a replacement, a rival, nor an alternative to general intelligence, nor to rationality or self control, which are the three cognitive abilities which are going to be the most predictive of your own personal success. Get some water here. Drink water. So, well, look like we got 2 out of 10. Um, Let me set another goal for. Let's see. So let's see if we can still hit 5 more gems. Maybe we can hit 5 more gems. But if not, that's fine. We'll try another day. We got 2. Shout out to Stefan for that. And I don't remember who sent the first one. Let's see if I can find that so I can give them the shout out. Uh, Thank you, Stefan. That's number 3. Uh, Number 4 as well. Appreciate it, brother. Um, 6. Oh wow. Okay. Boom. We're gonna hit. We hit the goal. We hit the goal, fellas. So all right. So um, I am a man of my word, and I am going to teach you guys a martial arts technique. Wait, did we get 10? We can get, yeah, we get one more. Yeah, like I said, I'm a man of my word. I will definitely, like I said, the goal. If I hit the goal, I was going to give you guys a martial arts technique. Boom, we got it. All right, all right. So what is a practical martial arts technique I can give you guys? I want to give you guys something practical so you don't have to spend like 5 years learning how to do it before you can master this technique. All right, that wouldn't work for you. I want to give you something grounded. So shout out to Stefan for the gems, guys. So let me give you guys. Okay, you guys can hear me, right? So um, so first, let's just start with hand placement. So you find yourself in a self-defense situation, you're not going to be already in some sort of stance unless you like a freakazoid and you just walking around, like this. You're not going to be in a stance just walking on the street. Hopefully not. If you're walking around in a fighting stance, there's something wrong with you, or you somewhere where you don't need to be. I don't know, because I'm not walking around in a Dutch high guard when I'm on the street or at the mall or something. So something's wrong. Because we need something that can handle YN. Got you. All right. So what we're gonna do is, so if you already find yourself, so let's say the tensions are rising, right? So this is where I want you to place your hands right here. This is like, guys, I'm sorry, you, I don't want any trouble. I don't want any trouble. But notice the placement is actually a subtle placement where you're. This is to protect here. So like guys, I don't want any trouble. I don't want any trouble, right? Then they swing. So automatically you place that, you're posting. It's called framing, right? This is called framing. So you go from here, like guys, I don't want any trouble. And they already swing, so they coming over. So you can down, but you're not gonna just stay there. Don't just stay there framing like I don't want any trouble, because eventually they're gonna be like, you don't want to do that. So you're gonna frame, and you're gonna come in with this elbow. Okay. You're like, I don't want any trouble. I don't want any trouble. You come in with that elbow. When you do an elbow, don't clench your fists. Keep them open like this. This is what makes you like this, right? Comes in like this, slicing elbow, and you're gonna put your guard up to protect yourself as you do it. Like, I don't want any trouble, please. I, I'm sorry. And they come in for that. As soon as they do, you step in, which means so the hit will go. So the hit will go around this way, right? Meanwhile, this arm, whichever way they're swinging, is going to cover this, and you're going to come in with that slicing elbow. Like, I don't want any trouble. And I'm going to do it slowly. So you're like, I don't want any trouble, guys. Then you frame out. Then you step in. Okay. Come in. So that's your technique right there. And if you want a little bit more, because I don't want to give too much because I don't want people to feel overwhelmed. But this is part of what Shifu Paul Von Eck, he he took some JKD and downsized it to something you can learn in a day, which he called the RATS program. So you're like sitting like this, right? Which is a type of, this is actually a type of high guard that might be used as an alternative to the regular Muay Thai high guard that's like this, or the Dutch high guard that's like this. You can do like this, okay? And then as soon as the person swings, you push out like this to frame, and you come in as they're swinging with that slicing elbow, and then you can come across with the other elbow too if you want. And then you grab them in a double. This will be a double tie-in, a double tie-in clinch. This is often what's used in Muay Thai, the double tie-in clinch when they clasp in the back of the neck, right here. Okay, clasp that. Then what do? Headbutt. Now, when you headbutt, do not use your forehead. You will knock yourself out if you use your forehead. You're using the top of the head, the hardest part of your skull, the top of your head. Do not use your forehead. You will knock yourself unconscious. Don't believe those movies. In those movies, you always see people headbutting with their foreheads. You're gonna knock yourself out. You gotta use the top of your head, which is the strongest part of your skull. You, so you come in. So I'm gonna do it from this side so you guys can see it from a different angle. So you're like, please, I don't want any trouble. I don't want any trouble. Then you frame out, right? Then you come in and boom, elbow. Then you can come in with the second elbow if you like. Okay. And since you're already in close, you grab the back of the neck and pull it for a double tie and clinch. Then you headbutt. So that's my technique. Shout out to Stefan. So I gave you guys. I will do this every time we reach our goals. I'll give you guys a different technique. Carlos says I'd rather get punched in the elbow. You and I, you and I both, brother. Those elbows can cut you open something nasty. Watch a Muay Thai fight like on One Championship. They show like highlights for free here on YouTube. They even show entire fights of like old fights from like a year ago or several years ago. Um, but the newest fights they'll show like the highlights. But if you want to watch a whole fight, they have old ones, and you see just how nasty those elbows are. This is why in kickboxing they don't allow elbows. They only allow them in like Muay Thai, and in Muay Thai they don't allow headbutts. In Burmese kickboxing is called Lethwei. In Lethwei they allow headbutts. Even Muay Thai doesn't allow headbutts. Because it's nasty business, and they fight bare knuckled in Lethwei as well. So those elbows are dirty business, man. This will slice someone, leave him. It'll leave a man leaking. It will leave a guy leaking. So hopefully people appreciate that. I know it's not too many in the chat room, but when people watch this on replay, hopefully they'll appreciate that. Maybe like, what the hell just happened here? We went from talking about emotional intelligence to a guy showing me how to do a slicing elbow on someone. But hopefully it was appreciated. And you know, when you guys, every time I hit a goal, I'm going to teach you guys a martial arts technique. So that's I think that's all I had to say about this for the night. Unless there's any other questions, it can be about a martial arts technique, or it can be about emotional intelligence or other psychology type related stuff. If not, I'll leave it there for the night. But I hope you guys like that. And so, any questions from anyone in the chat room? Good moves. Appreciate it, Carlton. Thank you. And like I said, I'll try to make sure that the techniques are something that you guys can actually do, not something that you will have to learn for like years. I'm not going to try to teach you like, the flying scissor kick or a helicopter kick or anything like that. I mean, you can watch me do those things like a flying eagle kick or a helicopter kick or scissors kick. But I'll have to stage that at a different time outside, and then pre-record it and then load it here. But if it's just like a down and dirty practical technique like what I was just showing you, then we can do that every single time. So that's I guess that's I guess that's a wrap then. Unless anyone has any other questions or comments and concerns. And if people are watching this on replay, they can definitely leave the comments, and I'll respond to those. Stefan says, "I only fight dirty." Well, I mean, when it comes to street fighting, there's no such thing as dirty. Well, kind of, sort of. I would think, because see, street fighting is asymmetric fighting anyway. Um, unlike pro fighting, like professional fighting is symmetric. Like you're measure like you're basically given a rival who balance you close to like your height and ability, height, weight, and ability, right? Whereas in asymmetric fighting, the person can be grossly bigger than you or grossly smaller than you. It can be multiple people. It can be people with weapons. You have no idea. You have no not foreknowledge of their ability. So street fighting is asymmetric. So it's hard to say what's clean fighting and dirty fighting in street fighting. Usually what they call dirty in street fighting is when it goes too far, and that's usually when people will break it up. They're like, all right, this is getting all right. That's enough, guys. It's getting too far. That's when it gets dirty. But other than that, throwing hands uh, on the street versus throwing hands in the ring or in the cage, it's mostly the same. So, you know, Stefan says a good book called The Death Touch. If you're talking about the book from the 80s, it's not the information in that was a bit sketchy, especially if it was written by that guy, a white guy who was pretending to be Asian, calling himself Ashita Kim back in the 80s and early 90s. He was a white guy who was pretending to be a Korean man who knew ninjutsu, or a Korean Japanese guy who knew ninjutsu when he's white and had no knowledge of ninjutsu, which isn't a real martial art, by the way. But that's a topic for another day. I've actually already debunked ninjutsu. You can go to my category of videos under martial arts myths, and I thoroughly debunked ninjutsu. um, Stefan says, I was taught there's no fair way to fight. Yes and no. Like I said, a fair fight just basically means that you're not using a weapon or jumping someone with multiple opponents. But other than that, like I said, street fighting is basically asymmetric. Whereas I the thing is, people think being a professional fighter doesn't train you to be to defend yourself, and that's not true. Like people who train in kickboxing, MMA, Muay Thai, uh, submission grappling are very can defend themselves very well. However, the difference is that there are more variables to account for in street fighting that whereas those variables are limited um, in a professional setting. So you have more things to account for in a street fight, which is your environment, whether there are weapons, and in a street fight, you should always assume there's going to be weapons, even if there aren't. You should always assume that there are weapons at available, or that a person might jump you. But all that's to say, still MMA, BJJ, Muay Thai, boxing, and kickboxing are very good combat sports in which to prepare yourself to defend yourself. Traditional martial arts are not good for self-defense. All other things being equal, they aren't. And I say all things being equal, or ceteris paribus, because there are some traditional martial arts that still value actual like practical self-defense, but most of them don't. You're most likely to get practical self-defense from a combat sport like MMA, kickboxing, and so forth. Stephen says, if I have to defend myself against someone twice my size, all bets are off. These are rules in combat sports. Well, if you have to defend against someone much bigger than you, I don't know what size of a person you are. This is why you need to have a force multiplier, a self defense weapon. A self defense weapon is essentially a force multiplier, whether that be a blade, a blunt object, or something you find in your environment, like a trash lid, a trash can lid, or something. Stephen says, "I stay strapped." Hey, I mean, if you, as long as you conceal carry through legal means, I mean, have at it. But just know that even when you do defend yourself within the legal realm with a firearm, you're still going to get arrested. I mean, yes, I mean it's better than dying. Don't get me wrong, but I mean I think everyone should be aware that even when you defend yourself within the legal confines of firearm usage, you're still going to be arrested, and there you will go to court to determine that you were justified in the usage of that weapon. Okay, people should be prepared for that, knowing that that means that you know that you should only draw that weapon when there is no other alternative. Meaning, if it was just a matter of exchanging some blows, you should not be going to your weapon, your firearm. Same thing if you had a knife or or anything else. Like if it didn't call for those extreme measures, then you're going to be the one in trouble. So, and then also, people should realize that there are multiple ways to resolve a dispute. It doesn't just have to be fight or flight. Okay, so that's all I'm saying. I don't discourage anyone from doing legal concealed carry, or constitutional carry, or open carry, depending on what part of the country you're in. It may be one of those three or all. And um, I when it comes to the three though, I would never open carry. I think open carry invites people to invites a challenge. One, it makes you seem threatening walking into establishments open carry. And then also it invites others who want to challenge you when you open carry. So I wouldn't do that. I would do concealed carry or constitutional carry. But Open carry, I think, invites problems. But I would, if anyone can legally conceal carry, I would say go ahead and do so. The other thing is not everyone's comfortable carrying a firearm either, so I get that as well. And if that's the case, again, there are, you can have a you can have a you can have a blade, or use like think tactical weapons like a tactical flashlight or a tactical pen, which can get you out of a sticky widget. Like I said, Stefan says I've been in a lot of street fights. That's not necessarily a good thing to say. I've been in a lot of street fights, because some martial arts instructors will say, "Yeah, I've been in a lot of street fights," and a person hearing that who's actually been in a fight or two means they will hear that and be like, "Oh, that just means you like that means you are a troublemaker." Then if you're always in a lot of street fights, not saying you are, but usually that is a red flag when people say, "I've been in a lot of street fights." That means that they basically can't get along with people. So hopefully that's not the case with you. uh, but it's a red flag when you hear a martial arts instructor say that, or a self defense coach say that. It's like I'm a martial arts coach and I've been in a few street fights, but not a lot. And I wouldn't pride myself on it either, because if I were to tell people that, it would kind of signal it would kind of indicate that I can't get along with folks, or that I live somewhere extremely violent. Neither of the two are very good alternatives. Steven said, I'm 45. I haven't had to fight in a long time. Yeah, I mean, we're about the same in age. I'm a little bit older than you, but um, by 3 years. But yeah, I've been in a few fights. Most adult men have not been in a fight since probably their teens or 20s. And like I said, unless they fight professionally, uh, or they have a military lifestyle. So I haven't. Wait, when was the last time I was in a fight? Uh, have I been in one in my 30s? Yeah, I have been in one in my 30s. Um, Again, I don't pride myself on that, but I did win it. um, but yeah, I avoid fights. Part of self defense is the highest form of self defense is knowing how to avoid fights in the first place. Instead of being able to survive a fight, being able to avoid the fight in the first place is the highest form of self defense. Carson says Charleston White walks around with a utility belt like Batman. He's used different gadgets on people. Well, yeah, Charleston White also brags about having a gun, but at the same time talks about he's going to call the police. He's a bag of contradictions. And yeah, no one should take Charleston seriously, other than as a form of he's a good form of entertainment, but I can't take the dude seriously. At some point, sometimes he wants to be he wants to be red pill and be motivation and like talk like this pro black stuff. Then other times he's just pure on ratchet. All right, guys, that's it for me. Again, shout out to Stefan for the gems. Hope you guys enjoyed the martial arts technique. And remember, emotional intelligence, when women demand it of men, it's fake. So I'm out, guys. Take it easy. If anybody wants more martial arts techniques, let me know. Take care.